Welcome to Southampton, a city famous for its historic industry and dockyard.
It has a population of 236,000 people.
But the city also has a dirty secret: pollution.
In order to contemplate the pollution problem in Southampton, it is important to consider the history of the city.
Southampton is without doubt known best for its port and dockyard. Since the Roman occupation of Britain, it has become a focal point for British trade. During the 19th and 20th century, it was known as the gateway to the British Empire, a key port in terms of the exports and imports of colonial and British goods.
The early raids on Southampton caused considerable havoc. The dock's ARP control post was destroyed and other damage proved very extensive.
Being a large southern port city, Southampton and its dockyard were heavily targeted by German bombers in the Second World War, who, over 57 raids, dropped over 2,300 bombs on the city, destroying close to 45,000 buildings. The Southampton Blitz is a prime example of the importance of the port and its value to Britain.
And it's still extremely valuable to this day. It remains Europe's leading cruise port, the UK's largest vehicle handling port, and the UK's most productive container port. It provides 15,000 jobs and contributes £1 billion to the UK economy annually.
Nevertheless, boasting such titles has clearly come at a cost, especially in terms of the amount of harmful pollution the port has contributed to the city. There can be no doubt that the dockyard itself has a large part to play in Southampton's problem with pollution levels. Pollution caused by the sulphur dioxide released by cruise ships running on heavy fuel oil and dockyard machinery which runs on diesel has led scientists to claim that the port alone has contributed up to 23% of air pollution in Southampton.
Pollution in Southampton is at a huge 50% higher than the World Health Organization recommendation of 10 micrograms per metre cubed of air. This pollution has been blamed for 6.2% of all deaths annually here in Southampton, which is a massive 1,480 years of life lost.
According to the World Health Organization, air pollution is a major cause of disease and death. Exposure to toxic gases such as nitrous oxides and sulphur dioxide can cause respiratory irritation and increase the prevalence and worsen the effects of respiratory conditions such as asthma. Numerous studies have also linked the effects of increased exposure to particulates with not only similar lung problems but also heart problems. Those most at risk are people who already have asthma or other lung diseases, young children, older adults, and people who exercise or have physically strenuous outdoor jobs.
Pollution in Southampton is at a staggering level. It's on a par with London, a city 35 times its size.
Industrial runoff from factories around Southampton can lead to huge algal blooms, not only suffocating fish, but also releasing toxins into the marine environment. These toxins then move up the food chain by leaching into coastal fisheries and eventually end up on our plates.
Industrial runoff leaches a toxic soup of chemicals into the water. These chemicals then accumulate up the food chain, and consuming fish from these waters can lead to the disruption of hormonal systems in the body.
Animal communication is constantly disrupted by noise pollution from continuous traffic and construction.
Some animals, though, have managed to overcome this, such as the great tit, which has increased the frequency of its calls to be above the frequency of the noise pollution.
However, most species are unable to overcome this issue of noise pollution, and as nowhere in Southampton is further than 1 kilometre from a road, all species are affected. The noise pollution not only causes behavioural changes, but can also lead to population decline, and this puts a whole ecosystem at risk.
Here in Southampton, we are lucky enough to have the Southampton Common, a site of special scientific interest covering 365 hectares. The Common has a huge variety of habitats, such as woodland, rough grassland, ponds and wetlands, which all host a biodiverse community of creatures. The Common is vital in monitoring the effects of pollution on local wildlife. Jack Merrifield, a researcher at the University of Southampton, has been investigating the effect of noise and light pollution on bats.
So we really have no idea about the ecological implications of lighting at night and the impact it has on protected species. And we have about 18 different species of bat just in the UK alone. Okay, and it's not just our moral obligation to be protecting animals that are chronically exposed to light at night, it's actually our legal one too. All 18 of those species are protected by law, not just European law, but laws across the planet protect them. And it's not just bats that are influenced by light at night, it's also things like aerial invertebrates. Monarch butterflies travel huge distances, these massive long flyways to commute from one area to another where they reproduce and courtship takes place. This is hugely important, and we fragment those pathways that have persisted for many, many years with different types of light.
The use of artificial lighting prevents us from experiencing true darkness. There is a growing body of evidence to suggest that the use of artificial lighting disrupts our sleeping patterns and is detrimental to overall health and well-being.
Although there is some dispute, electromagnetic radiation from telephone masts can cause damage to genes, eliciting a change in behaviour in species of small mammals and birds. If mating behaviours are adversely affected, individuals will have fewer offspring, which is terrible news for our protected species.
In the future, we really need to be guiding research and funding research that answers questions about the impacts of pollution, not just on ourselves, but on the animals that share our environment, because we need them.